Okay, let's unpack this. I want you to imagine that you're 12 years old.
Right. Taking me back.
Right. But instead of just, trying to remember your locker combination or dealing with middle school drama.
Oh, the trauma.
Yeah, the worst. But instead of that, you are standing on a frozen Alaskan river.
That is a very different kind of stress.
Seriously, the wind is biting, it's way below freezing, and you're holding a heavy piece of wood in one hand and like a high-tech drone remote in the other.
I love this image.
It's wild, right? So you strike the ice with the wood and you're listening intently to the tonal pitch it makes. You're using this technique passed down for thousands of years just to determine if the ice is thick enough to hold your weight.
Right. Safety first.
Exactly. And then, once you confirm it's safe, you launch the drone to map the river's freeze-up patterns for your entire village.
Oh.
Yeah. Today, we are looking at a stack of sources that, well, they completely flip the script on what it means to be a student. And frankly, what it means to be part of a community.
It really is a radical departure from the way, most of us probably experience education.
Oh, for sure.
We are exploring this really fascinating intersection today between environmental science, pedagogy, and cultural survival. The overarching mission for this deep dive is to unpack something called Alaska Cultural Standard A1.
Right, which is a foundational educational guideline used up in Alaska.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it states that students must assume responsibilities for their role regarding the well-being of their cultural community. And this is the key part. Embrace their lifelong obligations as community members.
Yeah, and when I first read lifelong obligations, I'll admit, my initial thought was, wow, that sounds incredibly heavy for a kid.
It really does sound like a lot of pressure at first glance.
Right. I mean, we're looking at documents from the Alaska Native Knowledge Network, detailed science frameworks, and all this deep research on traditional ecological knowledge or tech.
Mhm.
And the underlying premise challenges this modern idea that community is just some passive subscription service.
A subscription service. That's a good way to put it.
Like, you know how we usually think about it. You pay your taxes, you drive on the roads, you go to the grocery store, and you just assume all the infrastructure is going to keep humming along in the background.
Right, you just consume it.
Exactly. I was thinking about it like a restaurant versus a potluck dinner.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, like at a restaurant, you just sit there passively and you're served. But at a potluck, everyone has to bring a dish or help set up or, stay late and clean up.
Yeah, your role might change depending on your age or ability, but everyone contributes to the collective well-being.
Exactly. Nobody just gets a free ride. But it did make me wonder, isn't dropping a lifelong obligation on a seventh grader a bit much? Like, they're just trying to pass math.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, for educators, families, and those middle schoolers across Alaska, Standard A1 acts as a crucial bridge.
A bridge between what, exactly?
It bridges Western public schooling with indigenous knowledge systems, systems that have, actively managed the local ecology for millennia.
Okay, wow.
So it essentially transforms the classroom from a closed box where you just memorize isolated facts for a test into an open space where your learning is tangibly tied to the survival of the people living around you.
That is huge, because belonging and responsibility become totally intertwined.
Exactly. But the frameworks we're looking at are very careful to clarify what that responsibility actually looks like.
Right, because we want to be clear here, they are not talking about unquestioning obedience.
Definitely not. They aren't advocating for forced labor or, exploitation.
Yeah, nobody's expecting a seventh grader to magically solve massive systemic adult problems.
Right. What's fascinating here is how they introduced the One Health paradigm. Have you ever looked into that?
I saw that in the life sciences documents. It basically argues that you cannot untangle human health from the health of the local wildlife or the environment, right?
Spot on. They're one single interconnected system.
So, like, if the local salmon streams are polluted or if the caribou herds are diseased, the human community physically suffers.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So teaching a student that they have an obligation to their community isn't just some arbitrary, moralistic rule adults invented to make kids behave.
Right, it's not just do your chores.
No, it is a profound scientific recognition of ecological reality. It's based on the 4 foundational values of tech: honor, respect, reciprocity, and cooperation.
Which map perfectly onto that biological reality.
Exactly.
If we view it through that lens of survival, the responsibility stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling, well, like empowerment.
It's deeply empowering.
But that raises a massive logistical question for me. A 12-year-old doesn't just wake up intuitively knowing how to balance a local ecosystem or test river
No,
ice.
they definitely don't.
So how do they actually learn the mechanics of their specific role, like without stepping on toes or taking over?
Well, they don't learn it from a textbook, that's for sure. This is where the intergenerational transfer of knowledge comes in.
Learning from the elders.
Yes. In these frameworks, students learn their appropriate roles from the ultimate experts, their relatives and local elders.
And it's probably worth noting that these responsibilities aren't static.
Right. They evolve across a lifetime. What you contribute when you're young and have all that physical energy is very different from what you contribute when you are an elder holding the historical data.
We should also point out, just to be super clear, that the sources emphasize the incredible diversity of Alaska Native people.
Oh, absolutely. There is no single monolithic tradition.
Right. The Inupiat communities in the high Arctic face entirely different environmental challenges than, say, the Tlingit communities in the temperate rainforests of southeast Alaska.
Definitely. We have to respect that diversity.
Yeah, I do.
But the structural mechanism of how the knowledge transfers, that is the common thread.
Which brings us back to that drone on the ice.
Yes, the Fresh Eyes on Ice program. It perfectly illustrates this. Students study river and lake ice dynamics, which is crucial for winter transportation and hunting.
And what captivated me in the field reports was that before these students ever touch a Western scientific instrument, they go out with the elders to learn the traditional safety protocols.
Right, the tapping of the wood on the ice.
Yeah, they aren't just hitting it to see if it breaks. They are listening to the tonal pitch.
It's all about the sound.
Exactly. A high, sharp pitch means solid ice. A lower, hollow thud warns of thin ice or, dangerous water flow underneath.
And the sources make a really crucial distinction here. These elders aren't just older people sharing folksy anecdotes.
No, not at all.
They are recognized academic authorities. They possess centuries of empirical data passed down and refined through direct observation.
Which is mind-blowing. In Western science, a 50-year environmental study is a rarity. These elders are drawing on thousands of years of continuous, rigorous observation.
It really is the most thoroughly peer-reviewed data set on the planet.
Okay, but how does a student blend that new Western science, like a drone or ground-penetrating radar, with the ancient traditions without, the arrogance of thinking the new tech invalidates the old knowledge?
That's what researchers call epistemological convergence.
Epistemological convergence, that's a mouthful.
It is, but it's a beautiful concept. It's the exact point where two entirely different ways of knowing lock together perfectly. It's not about one system replacing the other.
It's about mutual enhancement.
Exactly. The student needs the elder's knowledge of the tonal pitch to even know where it is physically safe to stand.
Oh, right. The drone doesn't help you if you fall through the ice.
Exactly. And once they are safely positioned, they use the drone to map a much wider area. That visual data is then analyzed by the elder alongside their historical baseline.
So the technology serves the community's traditional needs rather than disrupting them.
Yes. And notice how that changes the power dynamic. The community isn't just demanding things from the youth. They are actively creating a safe space for the student to practice these roles.
Because healthy communities also have responsibilities to the youth to support, protect, teach, and include them.
Responsibility is always a two-way street.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. That localized data collection translates perfectly to how they handle biological threats.
Well, you're talking about the camps.
Yes. The Sitka tribe of Alaska's herring camps and clam camps. When you hear summer camp, you usually think of, making lanyards.
Or singing songs around a fire.
Right. But these middle and high school students are using microscopes to identify harmful algal blooms, or HABs.
Which are deeply tied to climate change. As ocean temperatures warm, certain species of phytoplankton multiply rapidly, creating these toxic blooms.
And then filter-feeding shellfish, like clams, consume the algae and concentrate the biotoxin.
Right. And if a human eats that shellfish,
They get paralytic shellfish poisoning,
Yeah.
which is a severe neurotoxic condition that can absolutely be deadly.
it's terrifying.
So these kids are literally out there sampling the water to protect their aunties, uncles, and neighbors from neurological damage.
It is targeted, high-stakes science, and it's the One Health paradigm in perfect action.
And the convergence is there too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Tech provides the historical context. Elders know which coves warm up first, which currents carry the blooms.
And the students use Western microscopic techniques to confirm the exact cell counts in real time.
Working in tandem to secure the local food supply.
You see that same dual approach with the Alaska Youth Stewards, or AYS.
Right down in places like Sitka and Prince of Wales Island.
Yeah, these youth are doing heavy physical labor to restore salmon spawning habitats because historically, those streams were devastated by clear-cut logging.
The logging removed the protective canopy, causing water temperatures to spike. It left massive amounts of slash and debris that physically blocked the salmon.
So these kids are physically wading into the streams, altering the flow dynamics, removing blockages, and cleaning the gravel beds.
Because if the salmon don't return, the whole web breaks down.
Exactly, which circles us right back to food security. And we
Yeah.
can't talk about food without talking about the Chugach region sharing networks.
Ah, yes. In communities like Nanwalek and Port Graham.
Right, where subsistence harvesting is like the absolute opposite of an individual sport.
It really is.
They use the example of harvesting a moose, which is called teglit in the Sixtun or Alutiiq language.
A moose can weigh over 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
You don't just stuff that in your postal freezer.
No, it kicks off this massive cooperative logistical operation: field dressing, transporting, butchering, processing.
And the distribution's highly organized. It prioritizes the elders, widows, those who can't hunt, and families having a hard time,
The successful hunter views the moose as a community asset, not personal property.
which completely transforms how a student views their role. They aren't passive vessels waiting for information. They become stewards.
Using science to determine not just what can happen, but what should happen.
Yes. It elevates science from a mechanical process to an ethical obligation.
I love that. But honestly, hearing about youth restoring entire salmon habitats or monitoring deadly merotoxins, it sounds amazing, but also incredibly daunting.
It does sound like a lot.
If I put myself in the shoes of a 7th grader, looking at ocean warming, toxic algae, and processing a 1,000-pound moose, I'd feel crushed.
This raises an important question. How do communities ensure individuals aren't crushed by these systemic obligations?
Right. If the burden falls on just a few people, doesn't the system break down?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
If you individualize systemic issues, if you tell one kid they're responsible for saving the salmon, you will break them.
So how do they avoid that?
The biological sciences give us the answer through the concept of carrying capacity.
Oh, like the limit to how much stress an environment can support before it collapses?
Exactly. Ecosystems rely on complex, widely distributed food webs. If only one species does all the work, the entire system is fragile. Human communities operate under the exact same principles.
They rely on shared reciprocal labor.
Yes. When a community functions properly, no one carries the weight alone.
Which is why the co-management treaties mentioned in the sources are so vital. Nobody is trying to manage the entire Yukon River by themselves.
No, modern stewardship is deeply collaborative. The Gravel to Gravel initiative is a perfect example.
Right, where federal entities like the Bureau of Land Management and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service partner directly with Alaska Native tribes.
They pool their resources, data, and labor to protect salmon habitats across massive regions.
And NOAA does the same thing, co-managing marine mammals with tribal organizations.
Exactly. The infrastructure of the community distributes the pressure so the individual can survive.
It's like a forest. If one tree tries to produce all the carbon for the entire forest, it dies immediately. But if thousands of trees are trading nutrients back and forth, they can weather a massive drought.
And that is the core lesson of Alaska Cultural Standard A1. Community responsibility is a lifelong daily practice of attention, reciprocity, contribution, and care.
So what does this all mean for you? As you listen to this, I want you to reflect on a few things. What communities are you actually a part of? How do you learn what your responsibilities are? Who benefits when people fulfill their roles? And what happens when responsibility is distributed unfairly?
Those are the crucial questions.
How can your choices affect people in the future? And how can you contribute without taking over?
Sitting with those questions shifts our perspective from calculating what we can extract from our surroundings to recognizing what we owe to them.
Exactly.
We learned today that indigenous communities have been making precise ecological observations for over 12,000 years to keep their communities healthy.
12,000 years of continuous shared data collection.
Right. So if community responsibility is a muscle built over millennia, it makes you wonder about the future.
It really does. Which brings us to our final thought. What small, careful observation or what tiny act of care can you practice today that someone in your community 100 years from now might rely on?